Hi everyone, welcome to our next episode of Kindred Conversations. I'm Anna Anderson, I'm the founder of Kindred, and I really wanted to reach out to other business leaders and entrepreneurs during this time of crisis to find out what drives them. So I've been thinking about businesses who are driven by purpose as well as profit. I wanted to find out what are the challenges in running a business with purpose, and how are they coping and adapting during the pandemic. So Lizzie Rivera is the founder of a new lifestyle platform called Live Frankly and is here to tell us all about it. So Lizzie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So, like I said, you're the founder of a new lifestyle platform called Live Frankly that I believe is recently launched despite the circumstances that we find ourselves in. So tell me a little bit more about Live Frankly and what that journey has been like so far.
Yeah, so we actually eventually launched Live Frankly on the 22nd of April, so just a couple of weeks ago, which was Earth Day, which was a nice touch. It was meant to launch a whole month before with a pop-up shop in Soho and full of events scheduled, but obviously we had to pivot like so many brands are having to at the moment. And Live Frankly is a ethical lifestyle directory, and it's also an education platform, I suppose, where we talk about sustainability and ethics. And we feature the genuinely good brands out there. So you have to have ethics and sustainability at the core of your business to be featured on the site. But once you're on the site, what we do is talk about everything else that makes you great as a brand. People see sustainability kind of as a sacrifice, and we want to prove that it's really not. It actually, in many cases, it's such an elevated level of quality. And also, we thought that now is really the time to launch, despite our plans being completely disrupted, because this is the time when independent businesses and small business owners who are doing the right thing by farmers, by garment workers, by each other, really need that support and to access a wider audience.
You're an established journalist, aren't you, with over 10 years or so experience, and
Yeah,
and you've taken all of that and you've taken this brave step in setting up your own platform, your own lifestyle platform. So was there a moment in time where you decided you wanted to make that shift, and what brought it on?
Yeah, I am a journalist, and I still write freelance articles for the likes of the Evening Standard and the Independent. So when I launched actually my first lifestyle website, which was 6 years ago now, it was because I was becoming more interested in just where my food was coming from, where my fashion was coming from. And I couldn't find this information anywhere on the internet. Like, it took so much research and so much. I would call up a restaurant, and then I'd have to call up the butcher, and then sometimes I'd call up the farmer as well, or go visit them just to find out, to learn more. Like, I'm a city girl born and bred. I don't know about farming. There's so much knowledge that we take for granted that people just don't have. Yeah, and I couldn't find this information anywhere. So I thought, if I'm looking for this information and I'm struggling, and I'm a journalist and I'm trained to research and to find out these things, then other people must be too.
Lizzie, you're sort of uniquely positioned to answer this, I think. I mean, how good is mainstream media at reporting on sustainable brands? Is there more that they could be doing to help emerging purpose-led brands? Do you think they're doing enough to interrogate things like greenwashing and transparency around supply chains?
Really, really good questions, and I will try to answer them all. If I miss one off, come back to me. But in the first instance, yes, there are some brilliant journalists out there writing some fantastic content that really does interrogate brands and champion ethical, genuinely smaller ethical brands. The challenge comes when you've got articles that do this, and alongside them sits an advert for a non-sustainable brand or a non-ethical brand. And then also, for example, in fashion, you have trend reports which don't take into consideration sustainability or ethics at all. And I guess also restaurant reviews or recipes that don't really talk about where ingredients are coming from, or how meat, if it's being served, is sourced. So that's really confusing for a consumer to read, I think. And it would be great to to just this, it's not sustainable or fashionable, it's not ethical or tasty. I mean, these conversations need to run through every single conversation that we're having and every article that we're writing. It should form the backbone of what we're doing. But of course, mainstream media is paid for by advertising typically, because obviously people think that news has been free for so long. So it's really hard as a business to call out the people that are paying your journalists wages in some ways.
Yeah, I wanted to understand more about this term greenwashing, because it's something that I think if you're in this world and you have this in your kind of in your psyche all the time, like, is this company greenwashing? What does that actually mean? Just a brief description for anyone who doesn't know that.
Yeah, sure. So greenwashing is when a brand is talking about sustainability and pretending to be a lot more ethical or sustainable than they actually are. So for example, a brand that is churning out millions or billions of garments a year might say, oh, but look at our collection of organic clothing, when predominantly it's not really. Their brand isn't built on an ethical or sustainable basis. So for me, I'm like, how are we choosing the environment over humans? Like, it's one system.
So how do you, as a business leader, like, what are your indicators of success as a business of purpose? How do you measure the impact that you're making as a platform? And what's your criteria holding brands to account?
So Live Frankly has taken an incredible amount of time and energy to create, and continues to do so. Anyone that runs a website knows that they are just like beasts that need to be fed all the time. And so for us, a big measure of success is how many page views we're getting, how many people we're reaching, how many people are consuming the site content, of course. And that for me is because my goal wasn't to start a website. My goal is to help to bring about change in society. So if I'm not achieving that change and that success through the website, then I need to consider where I'm putting this time and energy. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. So in terms of success, it is numbers, of course, but it's also the quality of people that are coming to the site. So how long they're spending on the site, what articles they're reading. So we like to follow that. And then also, on Sunday, for example, I received an email from someone who has a stranger who read the site and said, I felt compelled to write to you to tell you to say thank you for creating the site and how much it helped her to navigate with the journey. And that's just incredible. Like, that's really what we're trying to do. As for the brands that we feature, it is essential that they have ethics and sustainability at their core. This isn't a side project, so you'll never find a big brand with one line being able to infiltrate our content. We're just not down for that. But it's hard, obviously, because to do this research takes a lot of time. You're having, like, who's got the time or the energy or even the inclination to read these codes of conduct like that are pages long? And we obviously don't have the resources to visit factories across the world or every single farm in the UK. So what we do is we start with a base of, for example, the Soil Association, which is an organic standard certification, or fair trade, with certifications that we know and we trust. And we've built a form, so for fashion brands, it's a 6-page form that we ask them who certifies them, and then we ask them extra questions on top. So do you pay everyone in the supply chain a living wage? And also, what do you feed your animals? Like, what percentage of your feed is protein? Because they're really important questions in terms of knowing about welfare. And we don't expect all brands to be perfect. Like, no brand is perfect. But what we do 100% expect is honesty with us and transparency, because that's the only way we need to be having these conversations. And all brands need to be having these conversations if we're going to start seeing who are greenwashing and who's walking the walk as well as talking the talk.
Brilliant. So you're not just out to kind of expose the baddies and uphold the goodies. You're kind of there to provide support and, you know, expertise and guidance, and also networks as well to try and help improve everyone.
Definitely. We don't expose baddies typically, really, to be honest with you. Because I don't know how helpful it is, and because we want brands to be able to trust us. So definitely people will fill out our forms and we'll have quite advanced conversations with them, and then we'll say, actually, we're sorry, we're not going to take this any further because of this and this. But then we also will put them in touch with the people that they need to, where we feel they need to improve, where for their brand to align with our values. Like we're not here to demonize, we're here to help the consumer navigate. And I think the best way to do that is with positivity. It's not with a whole bunch of negative articles, which I'm sure would be great clickbait, but really that's not what we're about.
On the other side of your sort of very busy schedule, I'm sure, you've worked as a mentor for girls from underprivileged backgrounds. So can you tell me a bit more about that and how you got into that?
Yeah, so I'm pretty lucky with the support and the opportunities I've had in my life. Like, I'm not from a particularly wealthy or privileged background, but I definitely have had brilliant support from my family and opportunities for education and to follow the work that I want to follow. And I'm very aware that not everyone has those opportunities. So I always, through work and through personal life, try to give back and to help create more space for more people, more voices, wherever I can. And one of those was, so 6 years ago, I don't know if you've heard of a company called Kids Company, which was a charity working with underprivileged families, and I became a mentor with them. Sadly, they folded about 4 years ago now, but I've kept up the relationship and I still work with, I'm still a mentor, or a mentor as she calls me, and for one girl and her sister.
Oh, fantastic. And that must really inspire a lot of the work that you're doing now, you know, creating this better future. I mean, a lot of people talk about, if they have, you know, their own children, they're inspired by this idea of creating a better, more optimistic future for the younger generation. You know, we're not going anywhere. You know, the future is still ours as well, but it must really sort of feed into a lot of your motivation for the work that you're doing with Live Frankly.
Yeah, of course. It's all like I say, everything is interconnected. It's not, you know, I find it really strange. I don't find it strange, that's a lie. I find I'm not someone who separates work and personal life. I like to have meaning in, or find meaning wherever I can, if I can. Like, with, obviously I'm not perfect and I'm not an angel by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just it is about creating their future, of course, but it's also about creating a future for people who are already, for everyone. For garment workers who are like working in horrendous conditions, for farmers who can't earn enough money because they're stuck in these supply chains that aren't working, for the people who are growing and producing our food, you know, for the animals that are having really awful lives when needlessly. And that's actually what I find most shocking about it, is that it's so pointless. We don't need all of these clothes, you know, we don't need to eat all of this meat. We can just, there's enough for everyone if we're just a little bit kinder and a little bit less greedy, which isn't actually a positive message. That's really negative for me to say, but
I see it as a positive message. I think that the way that Live Frankly is kind of going about its work, not demonizing people that make mistakes or make bad choices, but upholding and giving good examples to the rest of us to kind of live up to. I think it's fantastic, and I think you're doing really fantastic work. So congratulations, and I really wish you the best. But one last question before we finish, which is, how anyone who's watching this, or anyone you know, who's sort of catching up with me later, how can they best help Live Frankly at the moment?
Thank you. That's a great question. Very helpful. First would be to follow us on any social channels that you use. Secondly, tell your friends about us, please. Also, do drop us a message and let us know what you think works well or what you think needs improving, because even though it looks like I don't know, maybe quite a corporate website, not corporate, but a faceless website, we're actually humans behind all of the pages, and we read every email, we respond to every message, and yeah, let us know what you need. Like, if something's been helpful, fantastic. If you need more information somewhere, please let us know that as well.
Thank you so much. Well, I will definitely be telling people about you and about Live Frankly. It's actually a very cool Instagram page, just even on its own. And thank you so much for spending the time with me today. It's been really, really interesting. So thank you.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to coming down to Kindred once this is all over. Having
yes, that would be great.
Lovely food, and yes, maybe hosting an event or something. Be great.
Wonderful. That would be wonderful. All right. Thank you so much, Lizzie.
Thank you. Speak soon.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.